All right, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek Podcast here in one of, if not my favorite state.
All right.
Tennessee.
Good to hear that.
Yeah, I love Tennessee.
Volunteer state.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I just said, we were going through Martin on the way down, and I said, you know, my son's going to go to SEMO, Southeast Missouri, and I was like, you know, maybe he'll go to Martin. Maybe I can talk him into Martin.
It's a good school.
Yeah. Well, Chad, you want to introduce yourself to the guest, kind of tell us who you are and what you do, how you know the shed industry.
Absolutely. Chad Wilson with Foundation Bank, McKenzie Banking Company. We're a bank that's been around since 1934 in a small town in West Tennessee. Started on the heels of the Great Depression.
Oh, wow.
A family-owned bank, and there's not a lot of us left out there.
Yeah.
A lot of the smaller banks have been gobbled up.
Yeah.
A lot of the community banks are widely held with lots of people in the community, and that has its own set of strengths.
Yeah.
But we're a family-owned bank, and we think that has a unique set of strengths as well.
Sure.
So I have been in banking in some shape or form for 30 years.
Okay.
Have done not every job in the bank, but a lot of them. Teller, receptionist, bookkeeping, lending, opening new accounts, and then really got excited about actually doing investments. Got my certified financial planner's license when I was about 25, and really found a passion in helping people be good stewards of what the Lord has put under their care. We believe that God owns it all and that we take care of it for a time. And helping people make good decisions with that is something that really grabbed me. Actually, it was while I was in college at Union University. Was introduced to Dave Ramsey.
Okay.
And was captivated by this idea of just helping people make good decisions.
Yeah.
And when I was 22 years old, had worked at the bank prior to that. When I was 22 years old, I felt a compelling purpose for my life that I was called to help people make God their greatest treasure. And there's lots of different ways you can do that. I actually thought I was going to do that in education early on. I did my student teaching actually and realized very quickly the classroom was not the place that I was most suited. I like to say 7th grade girls took me out. They were impossible to control.
They're relentless.
You know, they don't care about quarter notes and half notes and, you know, things about music. And I realized really quickly I did not have the gift of classroom management. So
Sure.
That was not the platform for me to help fulfill that calling. But I'd had an experience in finance, got interested in the investment side of the house. That's where I started, got my Series 7 license, and like I said, got my CFP. And found that to be the platform where I could help teach people how to make God their greatest treasure. So the platform of finance just happens to be the way that we do that. So because we're a family-owned bank, we can take a really long view of things. We're not trying to make a set of shareholders happy next quarter.
Right. Yeah.
We're trying to do things today that are sustainable, that are meaningful, and that are purposeful. So we already had a culture of trying to make a positive impact in people's lives through the vehicle of finance, but we tried to clarify some of that through mission statement, purpose statement, core values, and things like that. So the purpose statement of Foundation Bank is that we exist as a tool to invest in those things that will outlive us. And that's language that really anyone from just about any worldview can actually get behind.
Sure. Legacy, in a sense. I mean, anything that you take with you is personal, but anything you leave behind is sort of that reputation for who you are. I heard a pastor once say, you know, education was their passion, and teaching them or helping them believe in themselves to conquer their dream. So if their dream was to build a shed, or I think he said to build a house, you know, but it's closely related to what we do, right? To build a house, I helped build that house with you. You know, so it's what I left.
That's right.
To encourage you to leave behind. And I think that's kind of, I think even people in moments of success, I asked someone recently, and they'll know who they are when they hear this, but I said, you found success in the world in terms of financial success, what a lot of people would consider, oh, you've made it now. You've found that. But that's, we know, watch the news every day, that money isn't what makes everybody happy, right? Money.
No, that's exactly right.
So,
matter of fact, it can even bring new problems.
Right.
And it's certainly not the ultimate thing worth pursuing.
Yeah, I think the industry of hip hop says more money, more problems. Ain't that right?
That's what it says.
That's how it goes.
Mo money, mo problems.
So, I don't know. Whenever I told him that, I said, what's left when you attain that, when you have, and he said the team. The team. It's really, at some point, it becomes about like helping people.
It has to be, because investing in others' lives, making a positive impact there, is the most meaningful thing that we can do.
Yeah.
And many times you see people grab that vision and they don't know how to incorporate that into a profitable business. A lot of times you see people who want to serve others and they assume that's got to be in the not-for-profit world. Charging for my services is somehow evil.
Right, yeah.
And there's a lack of, I think, examples out there. They're there, but we don't see them very often, of trying to be both purposeful and profitable. And so we like to say here in our bank that we pursue purpose beyond profit.
Yeah.
So profit matters. It's the lifeblood of our organization. If you're not profitable, you have to close the doors and you can't support the teammates that your business employs. But there is even greater purpose beyond that. Yeah. And so that's what makes us tick as an organization. That's what gets us excited every day when we get out of bed is, hey, we've got 100 teammates here in our institution that are all trying to come together and serve one another well. Okay, we want a culture where people feel valued, where they feel like they're collaborating in the vision and the way that we go about things. And if we do that well, we should be able to serve our clients in a unique way that helps them get from financial point A to financial point B, whatever matters for them. And everybody's got different financial priorities, right?
Sure.
Like you might say...
And they've changed, over the years.
They do change, depending on where you are in life, right?
Right.
And so you value different things in different parts of your life. And so our job is not to tell people what they should value financially. It's to determine what they value financially, help them to get from financial point A to financial point B, and then hopefully even in ways that are helpful, point them even beyond whatever that financial goal is, that there's goals that are even greater than that.
Just knowing you can accomplish certain things. Some people don't know that it's possible because they haven't seen it in their own life. So they say, well, I want to see that it's possible. But then what can you do beyond that? For me, like I was a supervisor a long time, and I always liked to think that I was a good supervisor, whether I was or not, because the purpose for me was to see you meet your full potential. Like, how cool would it be to be the guy who discovered the person who found their full potential?
That's right.
Even if that full potential went way beyond what you could have accomplished, your goal was to simply help them find theirs.
Yeah.
To help them because they were just missing that part. And if you're walking in your purpose, that's what you're there for in that moment of their life.
That's right.
Help them get to where they make a way beyond where you went. So I supervised a lot of people who are way more talented than me. I'll give you a good example. What do we do whenever somebody's a good salesperson? Whenever they lead sales in the team, let's make them the sales manager.
That's right.
Nobody said they're a good people manager,
which are two very different skills.
Sure, they're good at sales. So what does a person who's good at sales want to do? They want to keep selling. So they don't necessarily want to teach others how to do it. That's because right. Maybe they don't even know how.
That's right.
They want to sell. Sometimes we make the mistake of like, well, let's put that guy there because obviously he must know. You got to decipher the talents of the different individuals. And sometimes that even takes time, right?
That's right.
To know those things.
And that's one example of stewardship there, stewarding people's talents. Mm-hmm. If you're a leader in an organization, you're a shepherd of their potential. Okay. And as servants to the public, we're stewards of their dreams.
Yeah.
And our hope is that as a bank, we don't just provide money, but we provide financial solutions that happen to involve money. And so it's a very different way of thinking. Because of that, we've got lots of creative business units within the bank. And one of those units happens to be the shed industry.
Yeah.
And we fell in love with the shed industry 33 years ago and have continued to just, the more that we are in it, the more that we learn from it, the more people we interact with in that industry, we're thankful to be there and want to serve it even better, want to invest in things that will outlive us in the shed industry among many.
It's unique from all other industries, is it not?
It's unlike any other. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's a lot of...
The motivations within the industry are different.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. You hear folks come and talk to a group of people in the shed industry, and maybe they're involved with other groups that maybe border the shed industry, and they'll quickly point out just the differentiation between the people in that room versus a lot of other rooms. And in many ways, it comes down to motivation. As I'm saying this purpose to invest in things that will outlive, there are a lot of other people in the industry that have the exact same goal, the exact same purpose. They want to serve their fellow man.
I came into your office, and there was a Forbes magazine sitting there, and it was 30 under 30. I don't remember what it was. Mr. Beast. I don't know if anybody out there knows who Mr. Beast is, but he one of the biggest names in YouTube.
I gotcha. That's right.
Gives away like all these massive like gifts. Nature of the Beast. I read this. I took a screenshot of this. It's a little premature because I wanted to put it on a Facebook post. But what you were talking about. So why would anybody spend 50 hours buried alive to make a YouTube video? Jimmy Donaldson, a.k.a. Mr. Beast, has 54 million reasons last year. This is what I took away. The world's top earning creator, which that grabs my attention, first of all, because I'm already competitive with this guy, even though he's blowing me out of the water, by all means.
Both creators.
I love creativity, right? So I take that and I'm as a challenge, right? It's like, wait a minute, I want to create too. So the world's top creator makes his mark through collaboration, not competition. What a thought. Like how like sobering is that thought? And he's gotten rich by giving money away. And really he has. He's collected money and he gives it away, and I'm sure he works in the margins of that or whatever to make a living. But how like that comment I thought that took the shed industry. I wanted to put it on Facebook, and I probably still will, but through collaboration and not competition.
That's powerful because if you can approach business in a way that everybody wins, and even when you are competing, to do so in a way that is respectful, that is helping all the competitors just sharpen their skills more and more. There's a healthy kind of competition that makes everybody better. So even the right kind of competition can actually be collaborative because it helps everybody raise the bar on their own effectiveness. But collaboration, we're all about that because we want our clients in the industry to win.
Yeah.
And we think that there's plenty of clients out there. There's plenty of folks looking for help. And the goal is that we partner with folks that find value in the things that we value.
Yep.
And that would be, people sometimes ask us who's the ideal client, for Foundation Bank. And it's not a age demographic. It's a kind of person who values advice, who values relationship, and who values partnership, really. Collaboration. In helping them maybe run their business just a little bit better than they would have had they not done business with us.
Well, when does service and taking care of the customer go beyond the dollar? I had a guy tell me one time, no matter how happy you be, you'll want more. And I'm like, gosh, it's so contrary to like the Apostle Paul, who sought contentment, in whether it's his shed business or his RTO company or his hauling company. Like, at what point do you seek contentment. I don't remember if someone said it on here. I know I've said it a few times, but I think it was Simon Sinek, maybe one of his like short videos or something, and said they sat down and talked with like J.D. Rockefeller at one point, you know, and said, "Gosh, you're like the richest man in America. You have everything you possibly want, and influence and all these things.
How much is enough?
How much is enough? You know, when is it going to be enough? What do you need to be happy?" And his answer was just a little bit more.
I think that was Bernard Baruch.
Oh,
he
edit that out since you corrected me. I'm just kidding.
We're collaborating here. We're collaborating.
No, I'm competing right now. I love it that you called out the right name.
Well,
of who said it.
I think that's who it was.
Okay.
You may correct me later.
I'm gonna go look, and I'll tell you what.
And you're gonna prove me wrong.
Lunch is on whoever gets it right. Considering you already bought my lunch today, I'm one up. So
that works.
So tell me more. See, now you've got me at like. I'm all ears now. I'm like, I just got schooled. Come on.
You did not get schooled.
Keep going.
That's a guy. I've been fascinated with that quote. That quote grabbed me because if you look around at all the definitions of worldly success,
yeah,
and you ask those folks who seem to have it all, are you satisfied?
Yeah.
And most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, those are some of the most unsatisfied people in the world. And that quote, I think, demonstrates that.
Does.
And it's an elusive quest. You'll never grasp it.
Get there.
Ecclesiastes would say that it's like trying to grasp the wind. Mm-hmm. And so there's got to be a greater motivation. Mm-hmm. Profit matters. It does. And businesses have to be able to be profitable. But if that's all that's driving you, then there's always going to be somebody who's making more money than you. There's always going to be someone who's bigger than you, who has more influence than you, and you'll always be chasing the not yet grasped. And so
I think it creates like a, what am I trying to say? I think it creates like a paranoia inside of folks.
Because you're comparing yourself.
Who are like, no matter what, they can sell me on this great idea. It's still about the dollar. You know what I mean? Like it creates a paranoia that never allows you to come together.
And never allows you to be content and reach a point of rest.
No matter what, they're always looking for the dollar. It's always, you know what I mean? It just, you'd never, whenever I sold sheds, since we're talking about sheds, we do that here sometimes, believe it or not, guys. That was a thought for me whenever I would see young couples come in. How do I get them in the right shed? I always said I wasn't a good salesperson, and I've had people tell me since, and no, that actually would be a definition of a good salesperson, because I wouldn't always just get the sale. I really, really wanted to take them through, like sort of the process here of what you're doing. Impulse is I understand impulse, but let me just try to put you in the mind space of what the implications are of buying now on payments versus saving a little and coming back in, or know, maybe downsizing, because that might not be within your budget. But, of course, today it's like, we don't care, budget, whatever, just buy.
The pandemic economy has maybe made money a non-issue.
Trickles down, as Reagan would say, right? It's trickle-down mentality instead of economics.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so, I know all that's good. I always thought that's why education was so important to me. It was like, man, they got to know.
That's right.
They got to know what they're getting. They have to know.
And really, life is full of trade-offs.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to decide what it is that you value. You can't have it all. Mm-hmm. So you decide what matters most. Mm-hmm. And there's gonna be a cost to that, a time cost, a money cost. Mm-hmm. And part of our job should be in the service industry is to help people understand what those costs are and what those benefits are. And then we let them make the decision of whether that's worth it to them or not. Is that a good trade for them?
Yeah.
Everything has pros and cons. And so we try to educate so that if someone's doing a mortgage with us, or in the shed industry, if we're helping a driver who is trying to decide, do I continue leasing my trailer or do I buy one myself? All right, so Prophet would tell us, we're going to push the loan because that helps our bottom line. But we really believe that he needs to understand the pros and the cons. Okay, if you own this yourself, over time you'll pay less but you'll take on the responsibility of maintenance and of everything that comes with that. And so we want to paint a picture of these are your options. These are 2 different roads you can choose. Which one of those seems best for you? And maybe we end up helping them choose or implement one of those solutions, or maybe they go somewhere else. But we feel like if we have listened well and found out what they value, what are you really looking for here?
Right.
That at the end of the day, there'll be enough people out there that value the things that we have to offer to serve the shed industry well, that's going to help move their business forward. And that's ultimately our goal.
So speaking of some of those things, you do some of those things. Is that correct?
That's right.
Mean,
we do.
You do offer services for haulers that are looking to get into.
That's right.
A rig.
We financed a lot of trucks, trailers, and mules over time. Trailers and mules are really kind of our specialty there. We have done those loans for, I'd say, over 10 years.
Okay.
And so we're able, I think, to even help people. Sometimes folks will call us that have financed a mule with us, paid it off a long time ago, and they talk about wanting to upgrade. And again, we don't say, well, yeah, you need to get you the latest and greatest.
Right.
We walk them through, okay, well, here's some of the features of this, and let's hear about your business. How's your business doing?
Right.
Are you able to service with what you have already? I just had a phone conversation with a client last night who wants to borrow a big chunk of money. And I asked the question, I said, okay, you can afford this on paper. We can do this loan for you, but you are raising the risk to your business. And is that something that you're willing to take on? Because it gives you less margin of safety. I'm of the opinion that we may be seeing a recession this year.
Right.
And so we think we owe it to businesses as they're trying to make decisions to understand how much risk they're taking.
Sure.
So instead of, we could approve that loan and just not ask any questions and just move on, but we felt like we owed it to that client to say, how does this fit in your overall business plan? Is this something, what is the importance level of this for your business? What's the return that you're going to be able to have on this investment over time? To just, again, try to serve them with more than a loan, but with counsel that can help them make a better business decision.
Yeah.
So that's one thing we do, the mules and the trailers. That's something we love doing. We also come alongside manufacturers. We have some experience in the manufacturing business. You were asking earlier kind of how we found the shed business, and one of the ways that we did was by partnering with a gentleman to get into the manufacturing business, and we found all of the successes and challenges of manufacturers now being a part of our world. And so we started trying to create solutions that would then serve those manufacturers well.
Yeah.
So we weren't just providing theoretically what we think a manufacturer might need. We were thinking, well, we could use that. Why not provide that for others? And so that's helped to expand our offering beyond maybe traditional bank loans. A lot of banks do loans on mules or on trailers. Banks do loans. But we've expanded beyond that to try to serve the industry in some creative ways because we've been in the trenches.
Yeah. Yeah, I had one of my friends that said he was working somewhere for a shed organization, and the management's talking about all the things from the 30,000-foot view that the shed dealer lots needed to do and what was going to be successful, all the things that were going to really make the difference in their day. And they were very adamant, strategic, and forceful about it. And he said, I realized something in the moment there, that I was the only one there that sold sheds ever at any point. And so I asked the question, how many of you all have owned a shed lot? All you heard was crickets. And it was like, it was a paradigm shift, that kind of made, wait a minute, let me think about this. I think I know how to do this, but I do know how to do this. You know how to run a shed company. Doesn't mean you know how to run the shed lot. and all the
two different things, without a doubt.
Yeah, what they're facing. So by you being able to be now with the industry, the question becomes, especially if you work in financing or rent to own, where is the direction of the shed industry going in that sense? You know, I've heard oftentimes of investors who look for sheds to build as opposed to being a shed builder. And then you have shed builder, you know, in order to maintain, you know, profitability and things like that. Then on the other side of that, you have shed manufacturing who want to get into rent to own. You know, so it's kind of like, well, hey, I want to do my own RTO, you know, and I've heard some RTO companies say, well, hey, I'm not getting into manufacturing, you know, and then there's like this, you know, you cross the line and I cross the line and that kind of thing. How can all those things, how can we bring forth education and collaborate together to bring forth the best education so that everyone gets a piece of the pie and the pie gets bigger and you can go out and compete respectively and fairly?
I think it goes back to determining what your purpose is in business, because if you have a very clear way that you think you're serving your fellow man, then you can evaluate every strategic opportunity against that purpose. Mm-hmm. You can ask yourself, okay, if this is kind of the reason that I was created, if this is and I would encourage that purpose to be defined by the intersection of giftedness, skill, of desire, and of opportunity. And where those three things intersect is kind of where that calling, purpose, vocation all meet. And so if you clarify that, then you can evaluate everything that you do against that and say, how does this opportunity help to further our purpose as an organization? Mm-hmm. And that will help you say no to some things that are a distraction and yes to other things that are a diversification, that are helping to fulfill that purpose. We exist as a tool to invest in those things that will outlive us, and it just so happens that the vehicle of finance is the way that we do that.
Right.
And so then it becomes, instead of, well, everybody else is getting into XYZ, I guess we should do that too, because it's kind of really motivated by FOMO, fear of missing out.
That's right.
Rather than, hey, this is going to help our core business by trying to integrate these things together.
FOMO works. I mean, you know, I did an experiment on FOMO once. My wife, she's big on like making like Afghans and different things like that and crocheting. And she made these little, I don't know, thing for ladies that you wear. But I took, there was 10 of them. I took
a shawl.
It's kind of like a shawl. Yeah. Okay. I guess that'd be the best way to explain it. I took 10 of them into work, and I said, yeah, I got 9 of these sold already, but if you want the last one, they was like, because you know, I love these things, you know. I was like, well, they're pretty much gone, you know. And they was like, well, I had 9 of them sold, and they were like, well, I won't give me that last one. You know, it's the fear of missing out. I sold 10 of them that night, you know, like that. And I told them afterwards what I did. And I said, here, you can have your money back if you want. And they're like, no, we'll take it.
It was an experiment.
But it was like, I'm just curious to see.
It's powerful.
If 9 people have already went that direction, gosh, I guess I have to go that direction too, don't I?
And there's a lot of business decisions that we make that are made for that very reason, that we're comparing ourselves against others. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we're really better off to just focus on, hey, what am I good at? What is our business good at? How are we, what particular niche of the industry are we serving well? And we're just going to do it well and try to get better and better at what we do.
Like when you miss out though, whenever cool opportunities come along. I shared a video last night of Steve Jobs whenever he was introducing the iPhone in 2007 on my Facebook account. I watched through that whole video, and he talked about, you know, the revolutionary thought of in 1982, the Apple computer, when it came out, and they had invented the mouse, putting a keyboard in there, solving problems, creating the iPod, you know, turning the iPod and internet connection all into one, and then creating these really cool apps. I remember my friend who had the first generation iPhone. I was like, what is that? That's crazy. Well, it's 2007. That wasn't that long.
That's right.
Wasn't that long ago,
That's
you
right.
know, really, to see where we're at. Now they're already talking about, you know, like the possibility of like discontinuing the iPhone after 15 and not knowing if it'll be true, and these visors, and where you're going to have, Apple glasses that you're going to wear everywhere, and it's going to look like the Terminator screen and all these different things. We don't embrace things immediately. My in-laws, God love them, amazing people, awesome, good salt to earth people. I don't need a computer. Why on earth would I need one? Why on earth would I ever need one? Next step was, I don't need the internet. Why on earth would I need that? Now they purchase from the computer all the time. So like whenever we have something cool like the mule, you know what I mean, show up, and you don't have to get out here and use pipes to move a shed anymore. Does it make sense to purchase versus wait and keep your uniqueness, that makes you like, it seems like that's just the daily struggle of a entrepreneur all the time. Like, when do we move? When do we stay? And I notice that in sales. Anytime I've tried to sell anything, especially if it's sort of a new idea, in a conservative industry, it's certainly not embraced. Like, it's the initial onslaught is pushback, and then there's slow trickle in. It just, at least that's been my experience, whether that's always.
So I think you have to have vision, like Steve Jobs did, of something that will benefit people that they may not be able to see at that moment.
Mm-hmm. Man, and he did too.
He really did. He knew what people needed before they knew that they needed it.
Yeah.
And so now, just because you can see something doesn't mean that you're the one to provide it. And so that's where I think the entrepreneur, the business owner, has to say,
what a good word.
Are we best positioned to do that? Because there is no free lunch. Everything that we pursue has a cost to it.
Yeah.
And so by pursuing a new business line, you are taking some attention away from your existing business lines. And so, again, is that...
Good word, man.
Is that worth it? And so the entrepreneur is constantly trying to discern the difference between diversification and distraction.
Yeah.
And...
Gosh, I want to pick your brain, man. Like, I want to set up a Zoom call with you and just pick your mind.
Well, hey, these are things that we're learning and in the process of learning, because, as I said, family business, we have to make these same decisions.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to even maybe take the things that we are learning as small business owners and trying to share those lessons with those who are doing business with us, to save them some time, to save them some struggle. I think that is, God gives us blessings that we might share those with others. And so whatever mistakes we make and lessons we learn from that, we have an obligation. It's not even an obligation, it's an opportunity to share that with others who are maybe struggling with the same kinds of things. So that's the philosophy that I think is going to allow our business to not just survive in today's environment, but thrive long term. And I think those businesses that also survive and thrive are going to be the ones that are making a difference beyond the dollar.
Yeah, they're leaders, and clearly you recognize them. I think at whatever juncture you are in the fragmented, just picture of the shed industry from big manufacturers with, hundreds, thousands of lots to the mom and pop. I talked to a guy the other day in British Columbia that does 30 sheds or 40 sheds a year. And he's asking me questions like, where do I rank, you think, in terms of like software right now? And how do I need, and I just loved, what I mean? His vulnerability to, to trust me with that thought. And of course I was like, well, let me maybe get you to somebody that could be more thoughtful on that. My space has become very much a connecting point at times.
That's right.
So I want to honor that and say, don't take the spotlight, right? I know it all. You know what I mean? Let me tell you how to fix that.
None of us knows it all.
Let me get you to someone who I would go to for advice on that same question. So I try to connect them to the right people. What are some of the things you've learned through this manufacturing adventure? What tools have you developed, that you use here? Do you expand any of those tools out to the rest of the industry? Or I'm curious. I know who you guys are, but we've only connected, as of the last month. So I want to know more. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we started realizing a lot of the challenges that manufacturers run into, and we wanted to create solutions to address that. So one of the things that we have a program where we partner with manufacturers and dealers to help provide rent to own for them, and we share in the profits.
Okay.
It's a partnership program, a participation program. And as part of that, you have a inventory of buildings that you maybe have put out on rent and you have to bring back in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to keep up with where they are. So we had a need. Where are all our buildings?
Yeah.
Okay, they're on this spreadsheet.
Right.
How can we improve that? So we wrote a software program. We had some expertise in-house, a programmer that had the ability to write software, and we wrote a program that would help us keep up with all of this. Okay, so we had that prior to our manufacturing experience. Well, we start the manufacturing business, and we start seeing, wow, we've got a lot of material here, and we need to try to figure out what material is going into these buildings. How many buildings do we have that are waiting on roofs?
Mm-hmm.
How many are in the bays being built right now? How many are out on the lot waiting to be delivered to, or out on the plant waiting to be delivered to a lot? How can we track those? So we added a module that would help us figure out, as a shed is going through the construction process, where is it?
Yeah.
We saw a need for point of sale. As a manufacturer, we recognized that the easier we can make it and the more standardized we can make it for all of these different lots that all have different skills. And, you know, in the dealer industry, it's unusual. It's possible. There's a few of these out there, but many times the better salesman you are, the more challenging paperwork is, right? Is that fair to say?
I think that is accurate.
That's accurate.
That is
normally you don't see
completely
those skill
accurate.
sets together. So,
Yes.
hey, let's take the paperwork off of those great sellers out there.
Yeah.
Let's try to streamline this. So we put a point of sale program that allows them to input the information from the client.
Yeah.
We can get an electronic signature, and that contract can come to us, and all those contracts look the same. So that kind of standardized that process. And so we just started bolting on things that we thought manufacturers could benefit from because we were benefiting from it. So this is a program that I think is really unique in the industry because it was born out of the trenches. It was born out of, hey, we need that. Can we use that for our business? And it was tested and piloted with this manufacturer. And as I told you before, I think if you figure something out, you want to share that with others. And so we started offering that software solution to folks that were doing the participation partnership program. So let's say you're building sheds in the Southeast, and you are building them, and you hear about the opportunity to participate in rent to own. And you're thinking, okay, do I have to start my own business?
Right.
Do I have to go get a loan from a bank? How am I going to keep up with these? Do I need to find a servicer to do those things? And so we come alongside that manufacturer and have a software program that helps their sales be streamlined. It helps them know how to run their business better. It's really a software program for their business. And we'll take care of everything for you. We'll show you, be very transparent about the income, the expenses involved in this, and then we'll split it with you at the end of the day. And so that is something that grew out of our literal partnership with a manufacturer. We saw how can we, instead of having this kind of fragmented world where you're doing your thing, we're doing our thing, and there's really no mutual benefit, we wanted to create a partnership so that our interests are aligned and we are growing together. And if we have a building that goes missing, we share in that together.
Yeah.
And if we have folks that are paying well and a business that's thriving, we share in that together. So
that creates a more stable sales approach, I think, in terms of, with rent to own, because it's not regulated like finance. The regulation is the amount of education that the dealer presents to the seller at the time, but no one has a crystal ball. Like I guarantee you, just to bring that into layman's terms, if you think you know who's going to pay for the shed and you get it right every time, I want to know you, because we've all been fooled.
Absolutely.
But based off of the way someone looks. So it's the more education you can put out, however, you can at least know that you've done your due diligence, right? You have done your part to educate the customer to understand, because I can't help but imagine that probably, and I'm talking to a RTO litigator here pretty soon, and I guarantee you, one of the questions I want to ask is like, what can we do to help the seller understand how to deliver that information in a way that doesn't turn into, I didn't know, they didn't tell me it was going to cost that much. A lot of it comes down to really the stem of it just being a rental contract, right? It's a path to ownership. But most people just don't understand that, it's like taking that 10 by 10 unit in the storage, unit place down the road, and we just delivered it to your backyard. You can sit here and pay rent on it for 20 years like you can down there if you want, or you can rent it with a path to ownership.
And a shorter path to walk.
Yeah, well, and safer and convenient.
Your backyard.
Right?
And, that's right. And that education is really important, because some people can demonize a rent-to-own concept who don't understand that, again, it's a trade-off.
Even dealers, my poor RTO reps, whenever they came in and I was, I would even, you talk about bad sales approach. A customer would come in and say, well, you can do rent-to-own if you want, but it's expensive. Wow. Let's introduce the idea and the thought that it's expensive, when really you could just turn the question around real quick and say, compared to what? Which is my favorite thing to say in comparison to rent-to-own being expensive, is compared to what? Compared to the lawnmower that you just bought that's setting out, getting rusted. What are we comparing it to, so we at least understand what it's, because I think it's way more expensive to let the lawnmower ruin. So it's about buying habits and just being your financial planner. We don't think when we purchase, and that doesn't have anything to do with like sheds. That's just the consumer. And a lot of times as a dealer, you might feel it's not my obligation to make sure and take care that this customer makes a good decision with their money. It's my goal to sell this and get my 10%. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, at the end of the day, if the commission is the only driving force, that's going to lead to unsustainable business trajectory.
Short money, quick money goes quick, doesn't
That's
it?
right.
Birthday money disappears faster.
And we find some of the most successful dealers actually are ones that really take the time to help people understand. Yeah. And, you're buying flexibility.
Yeah.
What else can you have that you can say at any time, I can't afford this anymore, I'd like to turn it back into you? Because even if you do traditional financing, bank financing on a shed, you're obligated to pay that back. And with a rent-to-own contract, you have the optionality. Just like if you're renting a house or an apartment, you have flexibility that you don't have as a homeowner.
Yeah.
And it's a trade-off.
It's flexibility.
And so our job is not to say you should do a rent-to-own contract. Yeah. That's not our role. Our role is to say, here are the benefits that come with a rent-to-own solution. Yeah. Here are the benefits that come with traditional financing. Here are the benefits that come with cash. Oh. Which of those do you value more?
But how cool that you partner with the company to help them make good decisions and not rushed, uneducated sales approaches that would just see birthday money as opposed to hard-earned money, lawn mowing money. See, that's a lot different when you got to go mow a yard. it goes a little slower when you spend it than whenever you get that money for your birthday, doesn't it? So
it really does.
If you just get it so quick, because you got the sale without any kind of repercussions of the consequences of that. Now, with that being said, you don't know. You don't have a crystal ball. You don't know who's going to pay and who's not. That's why there's systems set in place to, risk and reward, right? What's your thoughts on I'm seeing just more and more of this, dealer premiums.
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts on?
So that seems to be one of the real struggles in the industry right now is a compressing of margins because those dealer premiums are going up. What you win them with is what you will keep them with. And so
can I put that down and put your quotation all over that?
Sure. Shannon, you're the marketing expert, so you do. That is not my expertise. I'm deferring to your expertise. If you think that's helpful, like I said, I'm sure someone else said that.
No, I love that. What you win them with is what you lose them with. The next guy's got a bigger percentage to give away. And at what point do RTO companies give away the house?
There will come a point, and we're seeing some RTO companies having to make some decisions in this environment that they weren't making a year ago, because now some of those companies are paying 7, 8, maybe even 9 and 10% for their money. And before, when prime was 3 1/4, you had room. But not only have some rent-to-own companies had to increase the premium in order to get those contracts, but they've seen their costs go up through their interest if they've borrowed money. Not all rent-to-own companies borrow money. Some of them are just taking their own capital. But if that is an extra cost, there is going to come a point where, and I think we're already seeing it, some of the money in the industry begins looking for other industries that are maybe in their infancy, as we have seen, I would say, and this was a theme that we saw at the NBSRA convention this year, a maturing of the industry. I think we're in the process of maturing. And so what some will do is move to a new industry where they're getting in on the ground floor. Those margins are wider.
Yeah.
So margin compression has happened in this industry, and it will continue.
Yeah.
And that either drives consolidation and volume, right? So if you're making, let's say, 75% less on your margin, but you're doing it on a larger volume, the dollars end up being about the same. So that's what we have seen in so many other industries, is as the margins shrink, you see consolidation. That means you have to be a certain size in order to make the kind of money that you were.
Well, just in general, I mean, I've heard the terminology. It's sort of a race to the bottom, right? Because you are racing to who can give the most away, and the shed manufacturer really makes the most in this process. In terms of premium, I say, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, how much is left? If there's that much to give away, goodness, wow, where are we at with that? And my thought's always been, and I've kind of pulled back away from this a little bit over the last few months, but my thoughts are, because I have no desire to compete at this moment in that arena, and possibly not even a pathway to that. But why not be more competitive? If it works like traditional finance, why not be more competitive on the divisor? I know that a lot of people are really happy about me saying that right now, but my thoughts are, why not? Why does the customer ever win? We grew up, my parents made tons of bad financial decisions, and then they made them over and over and over. And I remember what it's like to have a bill collector call the house and see the stress. My parents, they were in charge of their decision. They made that decision. But I remember what it's like to struggle and to go without because of that, those decisions. And, I'm not one of these guys up there cheering, Biden on. Hey, I'm not trying to get crazy political here, but, or Obama that talks about, loan forgiveness. But I also understand the humanity side of what it does whenever you're poor, or when you don't know when your next meal is, or you don't know when your groceries are coming in next week. And, unfortunately, I think that's an education matter. That's a communication matter. What we said earlier today, with the right communication, you can feed the world, you can stop wars, but you've got to figure out the key to effective communication, don't you?
You do, and part of that is asking the question, can you afford this? You can't answer that for someone else.
That's right.
But you can raise it. And I think that's what our responsibility is. It's not to keep people from making poor decisions.
Right.
It's to give them all the facts so that they have the opportunity to make a right decision. If we've done that, we've been faithful and we've served them well.
I just know the manufacturers, and hey, I love you guys. The manufacturers are great people, right? Man, are they sitting pretty though? Are they not sitting in a beautiful position, where people are, constantly trying to purchase their company, or give them more money to give them more business, but I don't know where relationship fits into a lot of that, but it's got to matter. It's got to.
It should. Yeah, it should.
It's like you said, if I win with the money, I lose with the money too. As long as I'm okay with that.
Right. If that's the game you're playing,
right,
then you just have to know that you're always going to have to be watching those margins and even increasing that to stay, because there's a law of diminishing return, right? Folks get used to a particular premium, no matter what that is.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a need for more.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, of course there is. You grow accustomed to it. Like you said, you set a new budget in your home. And, I always talked about it like my time working at the jail. At any one time, I could walk into a pod with 50 grown men in there, and I was in charge. I was the officer. But I had no power that they didn't allow me to have. That's the reality, because there's no way I'm going to take on those 50 guys.
That's right.
I'm going to get my butt whooped, right? So, you know what I mean? But because of the consequences of that staved off and maintained my security until it didn't, right? Until it doesn't. So the mindset is that you can, do what you want with RTO, but only until a point where RTO decides maybe not no more. You know what I mean? Like maybe, so I don't know. All that stuff's crazy interesting to me. And I'm not even sure if we're talking about sheds anymore. And we had really no direction on where this would go. I feel like we're going to have to do 2 parts or something. Like we're going to have to talk again, because between the both of us, we might not have enough SD cards. What's sort of, believe it or not, we're like 50 some minutes in.
Okay.
What's your final thoughts? And maybe we just have to get together again to come back and visit on the nuance of shed, and specifically shed. And I think we talked about sheds today on the Shed Geek Podcast.
We did. We talked about sheds. We talked about
the shed business.
All the people who are stewards of the sheds.
The shed business is the people business anyway. And we talked about what it's like to be in the people business, because that's all it is at the end of the day. I really like getting to know you guys. I've heard good things about your father.
He's a great guy.
For quite some time. I got a phone call while I was here, and I told the gentleman who's a shed manufacturer where I'm at, and it's like, oh, is that Charles? It's like, well, it's his son, but it's like, man, Charles is a great guy, it just, what a cool testimony. So.
Yeah, it's been a blessing to learn from him. He's 84 years old and still gets up every day excited to serve other people, and
that's great.
Has developed a reputation of being trustworthy, of being someone that will tell you maybe not always what you want to hear, but what you need to hear.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
And so
that's good.
So blessed to still get to work with him, learn from him, and continue to try to serve the shed industry more effectively.
Well, between what you do, financing for haulers, financing for manufacturing, even taking on the task of manufacturing to learn more and how you can serve the software that you do in-house to really help, and making that available, and really just getting to know you is kind of cool, and I want to know you more. So
Likewise.
are you looking to grow? You guys looking to expand? If somebody wanted to find out how to get a hold
Absolutely.
of you, get in touch, do a discovery call, something.
That's right. Yeah, if there's folks listening and you hear something that might help your business, we try not to necessarily push product. We try to talk about the particular solutions that we provide.
Yeah.
And if you've got a gap in your business with managing your growth, with making point of sale easier, with figuring out how you fit in the rent-to-own space, with whether you should expand by adding transportation equipment.
Mm-hmm.
If those are needs that you have, give us a call and we'll talk through those things. You can learn more about us on our website, foundationbank.org. We have a podcast as well.
I was going to say, I wanted to mention it. I was going to wait and let you.
You don't have to, because I don't know if that's competition or collaboration. What do you think?
I think it's collaboration.
Yeah,
I've listened to your podcast, Money Matters.
We don't have as many
podcast.
Listeners as you, so we're learning from you.
Well, I'll tell you what.
You've done a good job building a great audience.
You know, what they say, a broken clock's right twice a day. So, you know, I'm blessed that God's given me the opportunity to do something that I enjoy.
Yeah.
You know, because I haven't always enjoyed.
Well, and for you, that's been the intersection of skill, desire,
Yeah.
and opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's why it's working.
Yeah.
That's why it's working.
Yeah, man. I really believe, like, gosh, if you'd just follow me around, and you're welcome to, anybody who don't, just come watch me for about a week, hang out with me, because you'll see that this is just kind of my life day in and day out. And I do enjoy it, and it's turning into more opportunity as well, you know, and where podcasting can be a real thing, you know, and make a living. That's kind of cool. So
That's exciting.
I'm going to do that by serving the industry. So anyway, we like to pray on
That's great.
So wait a minute. Money Matters is the podcast.
That's right.
Let's get people to go there. And
Yeah, we just talk about what's going on in the economy.
Okay.
We talk about leadership, stewardship, time management,
Okay.
those kinds of things. And they're just there to help people make better financial decisions for their business or their family's finances. It's short. It's about 10 minutes per episode.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we invite folks to check that out to get to know us a little bit better.
I love it. I love you did like the Karl Rove predictions.
Yeah.
That was that was cool, because I'm sitting here going, I wonder if I'm right compared to what he's
right.
predicted. I enjoyed it, and that is not my strength, so I look forward to listening to it and learning more as I go and develop my skills in money management. So
that's great.
Thank you. And like I said, we're a faith-filled, you know, industry and podcast here. I know that you're a believer. Would you care to pray over the industry? And
I would love to.
Yeah. Give it a whirl.
Thank you for the opportunity. Father, we do thank you just for the privilege of being your children, and we recognize that the earth is the Lord's in all its fullness. So thank you for giving us an opportunity to steward it, to partner with you in being your hands and your feet in caring for this creation that you've made. Father, we recognize that it is not the way you intended it to be originally. It's full of weeds and thorns. And God, we want to recognize those things, but we also want to recognize that there's still fruit and there's still things that can be cultivated to be something beautiful. So God, I just pray for those who are listening, those who are in the industry, those who are associated with the industry, that we would see work as cultivation of what is yours. That ultimately none of this belongs to us, but that we are trying to tend what belongs to you. So whatever corner of the garden that we find ourselves in, whatever you have entrusted to us, God, we pray that we would be faithful. God, we pray we would see fruit, but God, may it be the kind of fruit that lasts, the kind of fruit that endures to eternal life. We all come before you, God, lacking. We all come before you in need. And so, Lord, I pray that you continue teaching us, growing us, gently disciplining us so that we might become better and better and more faithful stewards of what belongs to you. Thank you for the many people that are viewing their work as service to others. Would you cultivate more? And Lord, would you be glorified in this industry and in those who serve it? It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Appreciate getting to know you, man.
Likewise.
Yeah, it's good.